Mr. Keller, did you really wave your father's badge at a police officer?
I just wanted him to know who I was, Your Honor. And who exactly are you, Mr. Keller? Either father, son, or your own man?
I guess I forgot the difference.
You thought that badge could buy you respect?
No, sir. I thought it could protect me.
You can't write me up. This is my father's badge. The young man's voice cuts through the morning traffic like a blade of arrogance. He lifts the polished shield toward the officer's face, the sunlight bouncing off the metal and into the camera lens. The officer doesn't move. His hand stays steady on the citation pad, his expression unreadable. The man leans closer. Do you even know who I am? No one answers. Cars idle nearby. The badge glints again, pretending to carry the weight of power that isn't his. Moments later, a quiet gavel echoes through a packed courtroom. Judge Frank Caprio sets down his pen and looks across the bench. The same young man now sits in front of him, nervous, shifting, stripped of swagger. What happened between that flash of confidence on the street and the silence in this courtroom? Before we continue, take a second to subscribe to Real Judge Stories and tell us in the comments, should flashing someone else's badge be treated as a crime or a mistake? Your opinion matters, and Judge Caprio's next words might change how you think about justice, mercy, and privilege. The courtroom quiets as Caprio clears his throat. This court, he says softly, is not impressed by borrowed authority. Those words land heavier than any sentence could. Cameras roll, the officer from that morning watches from the side wall, and the young man realizes that what he waved wasn't protection, it was proof. Proof that respect can't be inherited. Proof that every badge has a weight only the rightful owner can carry. The moment has arrived. What began as arrogance on the street is about to turn into a lesson the entire city will remember. The sound of the gavel still hangs in the air when Judge Frank Caprio leans forward, resting both hands on the bench. His voice is calm, but the authority inside it is unmistakable. State your name for the record. Ryan Keller, the young man mutters. His eyes dart between the clerk and his attorney, searching for help that isn't coming. Caprio studies him for a moment longer. Mr. Keller, I'm told you're the son of Captain Keller, Providence Police Department. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. And you believe that relationship exempts you from following the law? Ryan hesitates. No, Your Honor. I just thought there'd be some understanding. The judge tilts his head slightly. Understanding is earned, not inherited. He gestures toward the officer standing near the wall. That man out there earned his badge by serving the city. You tried to use your father's to avoid a citation. Do you see the difference? Ryan swallows hard. His lawyer, attorney Reese Nolan, shifts uncomfortably in his chair. Your Honor, my client acknowledges his mistake and is willing to pay any fines necessary. Caprio taps his pen once. Mr. Nolan, the purpose of this courtroom is not to collect money. It's to remind citizens that respect for the law keeps everyone safe. He pauses, eyes returning to Ryan. You're here because you thought a symbol could replace accountability. You were wrong. Across the courtroom, Clerk Dana Torres notes the silence, her pen frozen mid-sentence. Even the officer, Officer Diaz, the man who issued the ticket, keeps his gaze steady but expression neutral. Judge Caprio folds his hands. Let's begin from the start, Mr. Keller. Tell this court exactly what happened on that street. Officer Diaz steps forward, uniform crisp, notebook in hand. His voice is steady but carries the gravity of procedure. Case number 24 to 1172. The State versus Ryan Keller. Charges include parking in a restricted fire lane, refusal to obey a lawful order, and improper possession of police identification not assigned to the driver. Judge Caprio nods once. Mr. Keller, did you receive a copy of this citation? Yes, Your Honor. Did you read it? I glanced at it. Caprio raises an eyebrow. Glancing is not reading, Mr. Keller. One shows curiosity, the other shows responsibility. The judge shifts his attention to Attorney Nolan. Counselor, is your client prepared to address the charges? My client is prepared to resolve this matter by paying the fines in full. The gavel taps once, sharp. Mr. Nolan, this court is not a payment booth at a parking lot. Money without reflection is meaningless. Ryan exhales loudly. With all respect, Your Honor, this feels exaggerated. It was 2 minutes for coffee. Caprio's tone remains calm, almost patient. 2 minutes in a fire lane can become a lifetime for someone waiting for help. The law doesn't measure minutes, it measures consequences. Ryan looks down. His confidence flickers. I wasn't blocking anyone. Officer Diaz, Caprio says, please confirm. Yes, Your Honor. The lane was clearly marked and a delivery truck couldn't approach the store. The driver had to park across the street. Caprio glances at Ryan. Your coffee might have delayed someone's prescription or emergency service. Privilege is not an excuse, it's a responsibility. The courtroom stays silent. The echo of Caprio's words lingers like a lesson written in stone. Judge Caprio adjusts his glasses and motions to the clerk. Miss Torres, please play the body camera footage. A hiss of static fills the room, then the courtroom screen flickers to life. The grainy video shows Ryan stepping out of his white sedan, a paper cup in one hand and a smirk in the other. Officer Diaz's recorded voice is calm. Sir, you're in a fire lane. I need you to move immediately. Ryan's voice is sharp, defensive. It's 2 minutes, relax. My dad's a captain. The room hears the faint metallic clink as he pulls the badge from his pocket. See this? You sure you want to write that ticket? Caprio lets the clip run 5 seconds longer, just long enough for Ryan's words to hang in the air like smoke. Then he signals to pause it. Mr. Keller, he says quietly, does this recording misrepresent your behavior? Ryan shakes his head, eyes fixed on the table. No, Your Honor. The judge gestures to Officer Diaz again. Continue with your report. Diaz reads steadily. After the badge display, the defendant stated, I can have you reassigned to school crossings. I took that as intimidation. Attorney Nolan rises. Your Honor, that was sarcasm, not a threat. Caprio's eyes narrow. Sarcasm delivered with a badge is intimidation, counselor. Intent follows impact. He turns a page in the file. The store owner, Mr. Park, submitted a written statement confirming the lane was blocked for at least 10 minutes. We'll hear from him next. The judge's tone softens just slightly. Evidence doesn't lie, Mr. Keller. It only waits for courage to admit the truth. Ryan exhales, shoulders sinking under the weight of proof he can't deny. The courtroom clock ticks softly when Judge Caprio looks toward Clerk Dana Torres. Miss Torres, were there any communications received regarding this case before today's hearing? She checks the logbook. Yes, Your Honor. 2 phone calls and 1 voicemail from Captain Keller's office, all within an hour of the citation. Caprio's pen stills. Please read the times. The first at 11:42 a.m., the second at 12:05, and a voicemail at 12:21. Caprio nods once. Play the voicemail. The speakers hum before a measured voice fills the room. This is Captain Keller's office calling about a minor matter involving my son Ryan. We'd appreciate resolving this quietly. A heavy silence follows. Ryan's lawyer stands. Your Honor, my client had no knowledge of those calls. This shouldn't reflect on him. Caprio replies evenly, I'm not assigning blame, Mr. Nolan. I'm identifying influence. He shifts his gaze to Ryan. Did you ask your father to call this court? No, Your Honor. I didn't know he did. Caprio leans back slightly. Perhaps. Yet your text message at 11:25 a.m. says, use Dad's badge. He'll fix it. Do you deny sending that? Ryan's jaw tightens. No, Your Honor. I was angry. Anger doesn't justify expectation, Caprio says quietly. Privilege doesn't have an autopilot, Mr. Keller. Someone has to steer it. The courtroom breathes together. Officers, citizens, even Nolan sit motionless. Caprio taps his pen twice, voice firm again. We'll keep this public. Transparency is not negotiable. Captain Keller's rank ends outside these doors. Ryan lowers his head. The weight of borrowed power finally feels real. Judge Caprio glances toward the clerk. Miss Torres, is the store owner available? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Park is joining by phone. The speaker crackles softly before a calm, middle-aged voice comes through. Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is Daniel Park, owner of Park's Market on Westminster Street. Mr. Park, Caprio begins, tell the court what you observed that morning. Yes, Your Honor. Around 11 o'clock, a white sedan blocked our fire lane. My delivery truck couldn't pull in. We had an elderly woman waiting for her medication, but she couldn't walk far. That lane is for ambulances, not coffee stops. Ryan shifts uneasily, glancing at his attorney. Mr. Nolan whispers, stay calm. Caprio folds his hands. Mr. Park, how long was the vehicle there? At least 12 minutes, maybe 15. The officer asked the driver to move, but he argued instead. I watched from the window. He flashed a badge and said something about his father being a captain. The courtroom murmurs quietly until Caprio raises a hand. Thank you, Mr. Park. Your statement is appreciated. Before the line disconnects, Mr. Park adds, I respect the police, Judge, but when someone misuses that respect, the rest of us pay the price. Caprio's eyes linger on Ryan. Did you hear that? Ryan nods slowly. Yes, Your Honor. What did you take from it? That I wasn't thinking about anyone else, Ryan admits. Caprio nods. That's the beginning of accountability. You can't undo the delay, but you can decide what you'll do next. The call ends. The courtroom feels smaller now. No applause, no defense, just consequence quietly settling into truth. Judge Caprio leans forward, elbows resting on the bench. His voice lowers, steady and deliberate. Mr. Keller, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Please answer only yes or no. Ryan straightens slightly, though his eyes stay down. Did you park in a marked fire lane? Yes, Your Honor. Did you refuse to obey Officer Diaz's request to move your vehicle? Pause. Yes. Did you use your father's badge to threaten Officer Diaz's position? Ryan's voice falters. I didn't mean it that way. Yes or no, Mr. Keller? Yes, Your Honor. Caprio exhales quietly, then sets his pen down. That's the truth I was waiting for. The words hang in the air, heavy but freeing. Ryan's shoulders drop as if the weight of denial finally lifts. His lawyer says softly, Your Honor, my client was frustrated. He acted out of impulse, not malice. Caprio looks at Nolan, tone calm but firm. Impulse is the birthplace of harm, counselor. Responsibility begins when impulse ends. He turns back to Ryan. You're not on trial for being your father's son. You're here for what you did with that title. The courtroom is still. Even Officer Diaz, who's kept his composure throughout, shifts slightly as if the tension has thinned. Ryan's voice breaks the silence. I know I crossed a line. I just didn't want to look weak. Caprio replies, Strength isn't in the badge you borrow, it's in the respect you earn. The words strike deep. Ryan nods slowly, eyes glistening but unhidden. For the first time he's listening not to defend himself, but to understand. Caprio closes the file. Then let's move from confession to correction. Judge Caprio adjusts his robe and looks directly at Ryan. Mr. Keller, the court finds you responsible for each of the charges. But this isn't about stacking fines, it's about building integrity. Ryan braces for the verdict, fingers locked together on the table. The total penalty is $600, Caprio continues. But I'm suspending half of that, provided you complete a series of corrective steps. These are not punishments. They're lessons. He begins to read from a sheet of paper. First, you will write personal apologies to Officer Diaz and Mr. Park. No templates, no public relations gloss, just truth in your own handwriting. They must explain what you did and what you've learned. Ryan nods silently. Second, you will serve 80 hours with the Providence Community Safety Division, answering calls, assisting visitors and supporting outreach programs. You'll learn what the badge really means. Caprio glances up. Third, you'll participate in 2 school visits under the program, Respect the Badge, Don't Borrow It. You'll listen to officers talk about the cost of intimidation. Ryan's lawyer takes notes quietly as Caprio continues. Fourth, you will write and record a 1-minute message titled, Authority is Earned, Not Inherited. The court will approve the final version. Finally, Caprio lowers his tone. And fifth, you'll submit a reflection, no fewer than 700 words, on what you've learned about power, respect, and personal responsibility. He sets the paper aside. If you complete everything, $300 will be forgiven. If you fail, the full fine applies. Mercy isn't a free pass, Mr. Keller. It's a contract you must honor. Ryan swallows hard, voice low. Understood, Your Honor. Caprio nods. Then begin your redemption. The calendar flips forward. 8 weeks pass, each marked by slow humility and quiet labor. In the first week, Ryan sits at his desk late into the night. His first apology letter reads defensive, hollow. The court rejects it. Too much excuse, not enough ownership. He rewrites it, this time addressing the harm, not the humiliation. Officer Diaz accepts the second version, agreeing to meet him at the precinct. Their handshake is brief, wordless but honest. Mr. Park refuses an in-person meeting. Instead, he replies by mail, I accept your apology. Remember, respect protects us all. Weeks 2 through 7 blur with community work. Ryan answers phones, files reports, guides visitors through the Providence Safety Division. No cameras, no photo ops. One officer, older and patient, tells him quietly, a badge is just metal until you earn the right to wear it. Ryan nods and writes the line down on a sticky note. He joins 2 school sessions about respect and misuse of authority. Standing beside Officer Diaz, he listens to students ask what happens when someone abuses police connections. Diaz answers, "It hurts the trust we work to build." Ryan looks down, he understands. In week 6 he records his 1-minute PSA. The first cut sounds rehearsed, the second feels real. His voice, stripped of arrogance, says simply, "Authority is earned, not inherited." By week 8, his report is complete. 700 words of reflection that read less like homework and more like a confession. "I thought my father's rank could protect me," he writes, "but the law only respects honesty." When he signs the final page, Ryan doesn't feel punished anymore. He feels rebuilt. 8 weeks later, the same courtroom feels different. The benches are quieter, the air lighter. Ryan walks in alone. No lawyer, no father, no shield in his pocket. His reflection folder rests neatly in his hands. Judge Caprio greets him with a nod. "Mr. Keller, I've reviewed your documents. Your letters, service log, PSA transcript, and reflection. Now, I want to hear from you directly. No script. Tell me what you learned." Ryan clears his throat, voice steady but humble. "I learned that my father's badge doesn't belong to me. It represents his duty, not my privilege. When I waved it, I tried to borrow his respect instead of earning my own. I thought I was defending myself, but I was just disrespecting his work, and Officer Diaz's too." Caprio listens without interrupting. Ryan continues, slower this time. "The hardest part wasn't the hours or the letters. It was listening to officers explain what intimidation feels like. One said, 'When someone uses our badge against us, it makes us doubt doing our job.' I realized I made someone feel small because I wanted to feel powerful." The judge studies him carefully. "And what did you learn from the people you harmed?" "From Officer Diaz that borrowed power is theft. From Mr. Park that rules aren't barriers, they're protections. And from you, Your Honor, that mercy isn't weakness. It's work." Caprio leans back, a small nod forming. Growth doesn't erase what happened, but it shows the lesson took root. He pauses, then smiles faintly. "Your suspended fine is reduced. You've earned respect the right way this time." Ryan exhales, eyes glistening. "Thank you, Your Honor." "Don't thank me," Caprio says. "Thank the truth for finally catching up to you." Months later, the Keller case becomes more than a courtroom story, it becomes a catalyst. Judge Caprio's recommendations ripple through the Providence justice system like quiet reform. A new policy appears on the city's website: all off-record communications about active cases must be logged and reported weekly. Officers call it the influence log, a safeguard against silent favors. Within weeks, the first report lists a single call from a precinct office. It's handled transparently without conflict. The police department follows with its own update. Supervisors must now co-sign or recuse themselves if they contact the court regarding a relative's citation. Another clause ensures protection for officers who report intimidation or misuse of credentials. It's not bureaucracy, it's trust in written form. At the Community Safety Division, where Ryan completed his service, the new training slides include his story, names redacted, lesson intact. The PSA he recorded, "Authority is earned, not inherited," plays during youth workshops across the city. Students discuss what borrowed power means. One teenager raises his hand and says, "It means you're hiding behind someone else's courage." Officer Diaz, now part of the mentorship program, reports that fire lane violations have dropped by 25% since the incident. The changes aren't revolutionary, they're steady, believable, and human. Caprio reads the quarterly summary at his desk. He doesn't smile, he simply nods, satisfied. Accountability, after all, isn't about punishment, it's about prevention. Outside the courthouse, Ryan passes a patrol car on his way home. The officer inside recognizes him but says nothing. Ryan nods respectfully, and this time, that simple gesture carries more weight than any badge could. The courthouse is nearly empty when Judge Caprio finishes his final case of the week. The sunlight slants through the high windows, cutting long golden lines across the wooden floor. He gathers his files, but one folder, Keller vs. Commonwealth, remains on his desk. He opens it one last time. Inside are Ryan's letters, neatly folded, their edges worn from handling. Caprio rereads a single line written in the final reflection: "Respect isn't what others give you, it's what you give back." He smiles faintly and closes the folder. Then he reaches for a small note card, the kind he keeps behind his bench for words that matter. On it he writes a single sentence in blue ink: "A badge protects downward, not upward." He pins it beside another note that reads, "Mercy without accountability is permission." As he turns off the courtroom lights, The bench glows faintly under the last trace of afternoon sun. The echoes of voices, Diaz, Park, Keller, seem to linger like lessons whispered into the wood. Outside, Ryan walks down the courthouse steps, coat collar turned up against the wind. He pauses once, looks back at the building and exhales. This time, no arrogance, no shadow of borrowed rank. Just the quiet understanding of what earning respect really means. Narrator's voice returns, low and deliberate. In a world where borrowed power is mistaken for privilege, Judge Caprio reminds us that justice isn't revenge, it's repair. Every choice, every apology, every lesson, becomes the shape of a better tomorrow. The screen fades to black. Subscribe to Real Judge Stories for more moments where mercy meets accountability, and tell us in the comments below, should every act of privilege face public truth?